what kind of world outlook there is a what kind of methodology under the background economic globalization, various culture are also exchanging and colliding. Cultural difference can be clearly reflected in the characterization of films. Even in the face of celebrity events, the protagonists respecting different culture will make completely different choices. We can discover and learn that different history and culture of East and the Western through movie, so that can see significance of or challenge to the cultural exchange between the East Asia and the world in the historical contemporary time. Exploring the cultural difference between the East and the West and studying deep practical significance behind the difference and are the greatest significance for understanding the cultural difference between the East and the West and better developing human culture. Today I'm going to bring two movies. One is from China, another one is from American. The first one is called "Dying to Survive." It's also in Chinese name is called 我不是药神. I'm not medical or I'm not drug god. And the Dial-Spire Club, which is an American film, they are similar in the theme, but different in the plot. Each of them represent the story of Chinese background, the story of in the American background. Both films are about the person um, giving drugs to others to fight against disease and social pressure. Movies about leukemia in China, and also another movie is about uh, AIDS in the United States. Second, the plot compare and the contrast. Although the plot of selling medicine, Chen Yong's idea at the beginning was the same as Rodros in order to make money, but Chen Yong did not get sick, and Rodros' initial behavior of asking medicine was just to save himself. There is such a small detail I am not a god of medicine. When Lao Lu first found Chen Yang and want him to smuggle drug to sell, Chen Yong refused and Chen Yong finally agreed to try, but he was forced to have no choice. It can be seen from the it's just that although Chen Yong lived in a predicament, he does not want to touch the bottom line of law. However, Rodolph is also thinking about profit when he is treating his illness. In struggle with government, he does not feel a fear of breaking the law and then retire. Instead, he goes to find other way to continue to sell for profit until the end of his life. The protagonist of these two films seems to be doing the same thing, but their purposes are quite different. Chen Yong is typical Chinese male who grew up in the strict law. He has strong sense of rules. However, what he has to do to break the rule is not the temptation of interest, but the kindness of human nature, which is emotion factor. Road rules is in the way of self-help, happy not only his life has been saved, more access to benefit. In fact, it is also an infection a manifestation of human nature, showing people's desire for um, pursuit of interest. Western film emphasized the innate talent and the personality of human being, while Eastern film prefer to exist the emotional um, emotional commonality or common of human beings. Next is the culture difference in the film sense. Chinese society group, for example, QQ chat group, there is many such groups on the network to discuss common things. Some social problem in China, for example, the vendor pretend to be a famous Western science or pretend to have advanced Western technology so as to sell fake products and make a huge profit. On the other hand, is this plot is also shows many Chinese people believe too much Western technology and think it is perfect. In Chinese culture, people who are help sometimes give a banner to those who help them. This flag will leave a poem of thanks or a phrase or verse. There are other Oriental culture features in the film. For example, the hero state in India is Shiva. It represents destruction and rebirth. It implies the death of Lu and the rebirth of the main character. Other one is Hindu god of medicine. In the movie of the Dollar Buyers Club, it also includes many American culture characteristics. The main character image is like a cowboy. This image represents the courage and the enthusiasm. The main character is brave enough to face AIDS and help other patients with warmth and kindness. The image of a priest represents Western religion. The protagonist pretend to be priest to avoid search. In the 1980s, many homosexual and transsexuals in the United States are suffering from exclusion or discrimination in their life. This is a real social phenomenon or problem in the United States. The cross, the shape of the cross, and the shape of similar to the butterfly, represent kindness and beauty in the Western culture. This expresses the main character's desire to preserve Aura's virginity in the film. Lastly, the bullfighter sense of the main character express the spreading of struggle in the Western culture, refuse to be taken by the ace. The both films have portraits of the real person in the real life. That is very interesting. Next is about the influence of culture environment on the character. Um, Throughout history, it's not difficult to see that geographic, environmental, and other factors have affected the development path of country and the nations. In the Western world, represented by the United States, culture, environment, and the other reason has created their spread or fighting against nature, paying attention on to de- develop freedom and daring to explore. And the Eastern culture represented by China is more for the idea of doing one's best to listen to the destiny and be content with the within the character in the dying to survive or I'm not a god, medicine god, and those fire club have um, this distinctive characteristics for the kind of difference. The next one is the involvement of Oriental or Eastern culture in the dying to survive. Um, Chinese culture is one of the typical representative of Oriental culture. Um, Therefore, we should discuss it from the perspective of China. In the Chinese society, the recognition of um, on, on a unified thinking is primarily to distinguish right from wrong. From the film, we can see that both the small social figure represented by Chen Yong and the patient represented by Lao Lü choose a way of promise in the face of the blow bright by reality. Next is the involvement of Western culture in the Dallas Buyer Club. As mentioned in the previous article, the Oriental culture represented by China conformed to destiny, which cannot be seen in the Dallas Buyer Club. Watching the whole film, I can see the struggle for life, struggle for the government, and so on. Like China, the United States is one of the typical representative of Western culture. The ideal that Chinese people value national interest more than others incomprehensible and acceptable to Americans who al- allows taking person interest in as the fundamental starting point. So, in fact, both Eastern culture and Western culture have their own characteristics of the times. The formation of this culture is the common psychological quality from by long-term reintegration of people in the certain region, for example, history or stories. Therefore, since there have been formed, there is no difference between the good and the bad, but they have their own advantages in different times. Moreover, more and more European and American films integrated with Chinese elements, and the shadow of the Western world can be also seen in Chinese film, which is a result of culture integration. Culture differences are inevitable. We have to maximize the understanding of each other's culture so we can fully respect each other's culture and achieve the effect of prosperity and the development of all cultures. Thanks for watching.